If you love stories filled with suspense, betrayal, and shocking twists, don't leave this video because what this woman discovered in the basement will shock you. A devoted wife, a loving mother, and a successful writer, she never imagined that inside her own home, while she was focused on work and raising her kids, a cruel plan was being put together against her. And guess by whom? By her own husband and the nanny she herself had hired. But they wanted much more than just a forbidden romance. They wanted her money, her children, and her life. And you? Are you sure you really know the person sleeping next to you? Be careful, because what she found in that basement is going to change everything, and no one was ready for it. Stick with me until the end, because this story is going to leave you speechless. And listen, over 80% of the people watching videos on this channel aren't subscribing. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments, do you believe it's possible to trust someone 100%? Her name is Seo-yeon, a 30-year-old Korean writer. An intelligent, charismatic woman, deeply devoted to her family. She had been married for 7 years to Jung-woo, a renowned lawyer, successful, respected, seen by everyone as the perfect husband and a loving father. The couple lived what many would call a perfect life, a beautiful home, 2 small children, and a relationship that to anyone looking from the outside seemed built on love, respect, and partnership. However, with an increasingly demanding routine, Seo-yeon balancing her career as a writer with raising the kids, and Jung-woo fully immersed in courtrooms handling million-dollar cases, the need for help became unavoidable. And that's when she made a decision that, without knowing, would change her life forever. Following a recommendation from a friend, Seo-yeon met Micha, a young Korean woman just 20 years old. Simple, delicate, always smiling, and extremely affectionate with children. A girl who, at first glance, radiated purity, sweetness, and innocence. In the first few days, Seo-yeon was absolutely charmed. Micha was everything she needed, patient, dedicated, polite, and, above all, she treated her children with so much love that she quickly won the trust and affection of the entire family. Even Jung-woo himself seemed to grow fond of the young nanny, always so kind, attentive, maybe too attentive. But how can one recognize danger when it comes disguised as care? What Seo-yeon could never imagine was that behind that sweet smile, that soft voice, and those seemingly innocent eyes were secrets far darker than she could have ever dared to imagine. Days passed and everything seemed to flow in perfect harmony, but something started to change, something silent, almost invisible. Suddenly, Seo-yeon began to feel strange, a constant weakness, dizziness, unexplained headaches. Sometimes she could barely finish her work. The episodes became more and more frequent, so frequent that she started questioning if she was seriously ill. But what she didn't know was that her life wasn't just about to fall apart. It was already being carefully dismantled, piece by piece, by the very people she loved and trusted the most. And while Seo-yeon was battling against her own body, trying to understand what was happening, something far darker and crueler was unfolding right there inside her own home. But tell me something. Do you think it's really possible to sleep under the same roof with someone who wants to destroy you and not realize it? What Seo-yeon didn't know yet is that the basement of that house was hiding something that would change everything, and what you're about to discover will leave you absolutely shocked. Days slowly turned into weeks. And little by little, what once felt like a home full of love was starting to turn into a silent battlefield of manipulation and lies. Seo-yeon, getting weaker by the day, began stepping away from her daily tasks. Her mornings were consumed by nausea, headaches, shortness of breath, and strangely, every medical test came back perfectly normal. Doctors kept saying she was fine. Maybe it's stress, anxiety, or burnout, they'd suggest. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. And while she was slowly fading, an invisible connection was quietly growing, like a weed feeding on purity, slowly turning everything into rot. Micha, that sweet, gentle, always smiling girl, had started spending a little too much time around Jungwoo. Whispered conversations, laughter that only seemed to happen when Seyeon wasn't around. Subtle touches, glances that, at first, could easily be dismissed as harmless gestures, but carried something deeper. And slowly, what began with lingering looks and secret smiles turned into hidden encounters inside the very walls of that home. When the wife was asleep, when she was busy writing, they were there, exchanging forbidden words, whispering promises that should never be said out loud. But let me ask you something. Do you believe a human being could truly wish for the death of someone they once shared life, dreams, and a family with? How far can someone go when greed, passion, and desire become stronger than any sense of morality? What Seyeon didn't know is that her own husband and the nanny she welcomed like a daughter no longer wanted her there. Between stolen kisses and whispers in the dark, they began crafting a cruel, cold, and carefully calculated plan. A plan that, if it worked, would quietly end Seyeon's life, disguised as a tragic accident. And the reason? Money. Not long ago, her husband had taken out a massive life insurance policy in her name. He said it was just a way to protect the family, just in case. At the time, she didn't think much of it. After all, it's something many couples do. But now, that insurance policy had quietly turned into a death sentence. If she died, he would inherit everything: the house, the money, the 2 children. And of course, the nanny, who wouldn't just be an employee anymore. But what they didn't know is that when evil grows too much, it starts leaving traces, subtle signs that can be noticed by someone who refuses to be destroyed. Seyeon began paying attention, strange movements, conversations that suddenly went silent when she walked into a room, objects slightly out of place, whispers behind closed doors. And then, one day, something sent a chill straight down her spine. She walked into the kitchen and saw a cup on the table with traces of a strange liquid still inside. When she asked whose it was, Micha, with that same sweet smile, replied, "Oh, I was making you some tea. I thought it might make you feel better." But something didn't add up. Seyeon didn't remember asking for any tea. And over the past few days, she started noticing a pattern. She always felt sick right after drinking or eating something prepared by Micha. Was it just a coincidence? Or had poison already become part of her daily life without her even realizing? That was the moment when something inside her switched on. A voice, an instinct, screaming, "You need to find out what's happening, and fast." Because little by little, everything in that house started to change. The children were becoming way too attached to the nanny. Her husband was different. At first, she thought, maybe it's just work stress. Then, maybe there's someone else at his job. But now, she didn't even know what to think anymore. But tell me something. If it were you, would you start suspecting, or would you convince yourself it's all just in your head? What she didn't know is that the truth she'd been desperately searching for was closer than she could have ever imagined. As close as the basement of that house. Se-yeon began to realize that something was wrong. Small details that once went unnoticed now caught her attention. An unfamiliar perfume lingering in the bedroom, objects out of place, whispers that abruptly stopped the moment she entered a room. The feeling of being watched followed her constantly. Jung-woo and Micha's behavior was becoming increasingly suspicious. They exchanged knowing glances, subtle smiles, always seeming to be hiding something. So-yeon decided to investigate. She started observing them quietly, taking notes of their schedules, behaviors, and anything that could confirm her suspicions. She noticed that Micha was spending far too much time with Jung-woo, even when there was no reason for it. Then, one night, while reviewing the home's security cameras, Se-yeon saw something that left her completely shocked. Footage of Jung-woo and Micha together in intimate moments, right there, inside her own house. The betrayal was real, and it had been happening right under her nose. The pain of that discovery was overwhelming, but she knew she had to stay calm. She decided not to confront them immediately. Instead, she began planning how to expose them both and protect her children. From that moment on, Se-yeon started acting more cautiously, pretending she knew nothing. But inside, she was determined to uncover the whole truth and do whatever it took to keep her family safe. Slowly, her mind started connecting the dots. The life insurance, the sudden illness, her husband's coldness. She could have never imagined that the man she once shared her dreams with, the man she built a family with and dedicated the best years of her life to, was capable of hiding such a cruel, twisted plan. Something powerful enough not just to break her heart, but to destroy her entire existence. Do you think you really know the person you sleep next to every night? Se-yeon thought she did. She married for love, built a life, a family. But that day, when she opened that door, everything she believed came crashing down. And worse, she realized her own life was hanging by a thread. After discovering, through strange messages and suspicious behavior, that something was terribly wrong between her husband, Jung-woo, and the young nanny, Micha, Se-yeon found herself plunged into a world of shadows. The little doubts she once ignored had now turned into painful certainties, and the love she believed was eternal was rotting right before her eyes. In the following days, she began paying closer attention. Jung-woo's schedule had changed. He left earlier for the office, but strangely kept forgetting his work briefcase at home. At night, he was always distracted, and whenever she got close, he would quickly lock his phone. And Micha, that girl Se-yeon had welcomed as if she were her own daughter, was now getting bolder by the day. Her once shy smiles had become provocative, her clothes tighter, her gazes unsettling. But Se-yeon knew if she wanted to survive, she had to be smarter than both of them. Then one quiet afternoon, while the kids were playing in their room and Micha was at the market, Se-yeon made a radical decision. She searched her husband's office, every drawer, every folder, until, hidden deep in a locked box, she found a life insurance policy in her name. The amount? An absurd sum, enough to guarantee that Jung-woo and whoever else could live comfortably for the rest of their lives. But what terrified her most was realizing that the document had been updated less than 2 months ago, exactly when Micha started working in their home. Her hands trembled, tears rolled down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of fear, pure terror. Because in that moment, she understood. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning her death. Se-yeon raced against time. She installed hidden cameras all over the house, behind picture frames, inside bookshelves, in the basement, the living room, even in the children's bedroom. Everything had to be recorded, because now she wasn't just fighting for her dignity. She was fighting for her life and for her children's safety. In one of the first recordings, she saw something that shattered her soul. Micha entered the couple's bedroom while Jung-woo was on a phone call in his office. The nanny opened the dresser drawer, grabbed a small box, and quickly stuffed something into her bag. Then, after looking around, she walked out, smiling. And then, The audio. A conversation caught in the hallway. Everything is going exactly as we planned, Jung-woo said in a cold tone. Soon, she won't be a problem anymore. We just have to wait a little longer, Micha replied, with a chilling coldness that froze Se-yeon's spine. The peak of tension happened on what seemed like an ordinary morning. Se-yeon noticed that the milk she drank every day tasted strange. At first, she thought it was just paranoia. But then, watching Micha in the kitchen, she saw the young woman pull a small bottle from a hidden spot in the cabinet, pour something into the glass, and then serve it to her. In that instant, Se-yeon pretended to drink it but poured the contents down the sink the moment she was alone. She grabbed the bottle and rushed it to a lab for analysis. The result? Highly toxic, a substance that, if ingested in small doses over time, could cause cardiac arrest and be easily mistaken for a natural death. Her heart raced. A lump in her throat nearly suffocated her. She collapsed to the floor, hugging her knees in absolute despair. My God, they really want to kill me. They want to erase me from their lives as if I were disposable trash. In the days that followed, she could barely sleep. Every noise in the house felt like a sign that the worst was about to happen. She even started pushing a dresser against her bedroom door every single night. But amidst the panic, something shifted inside her. Fear began turning into rage, a burning, devastating rage. She looked at her children, the reason she was still standing, and realized she couldn't give up. I'm going to fight, and they will pay for every second of suffering they've made me endure. Se-yeon gathered all the evidence she had so far. Audio recordings of their incriminating conversations, videos of Micha tampering with her food, the life insurance contract, the lab report confirming the presence of poison. And she didn't stop there. She hired a private investigator, someone she deeply trusted, to follow Jung-woo and Micha outside the house. The photos left no doubt. Motel meetings, jewelry shopping, conversations about future investments. They were already splitting her inheritance before she was even dead. The cruel plan revealed. The investigator uncovered something even more horrifying. Jung-woo was negotiating with a so-called agent to stage an accident. The plan was simple and cowardly. Se-yeon would either suffer a fatal fall down the stairs or become the victim of a fake home robbery that would suddenly spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Micha, pretending to be the concerned nanny, had already started researching schools for the kids, quietly stepping into the role of the new wife and the new mother. When Se-yeon found this out, a storm of rage consumed her. She punched walls, she screamed, she cried, but she didn't break. On the contrary, she became stronger. That night, staring at herself in the mirror, eyes swollen but filled with fire, she made a promise. You betrayed me. You tried to destroy me. But now I'm the one running this game, and you have no idea what I'm capable of. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, smirked bitterly, and for the first time in weeks, lay down with a peaceful mind. Because now she had a plan. What is Se-yeon going to do? Will she expose everything? Or will she deliver a final blow that no one will ever forget? You're about to find out how a woman, betrayed, humiliated, and threatened, flips the game in a way that will leave you speechless. Get ready because what's coming is simply unbelievable. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe to the channel right now. Seriously, you're watching, you're hooked, but you're not subscribing. It helps us a lot to keep bringing stories like this. So click that button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below what you would do if you were in Se-yeon's shoes. Let's go to the next episode. That night seemed just like any other. The house was silent. The children were already asleep. innocent, unaware of the hell their parents had become. In the living room, Jung-woo was on the phone. In the bedroom, Micha smiled to herself while scrolling through wedding dress catalogs on her phone. They thought the plan was perfect. They believed Seo-yeon was already weak, isolated, lost, ready to be discarded. But what they didn't know was that the fragile woman they had planned to destroy no longer existed. In the days leading up to that moment, Seo-yeon had crafted a revenge plan just as meticulous, intelligent, and cruel as the one they had plotted against her. She knew that simply taking them to the police wouldn't be enough. No, that was too easy. They needed to taste their own poison, feel it in their own skin. Seo started setting traps, hidden voice recorders, spy trackers in her husband's car, and even GPS tracking on Micha's phone. But the final blow would be delivered that very night. She prepared a dinner. Yes, a dinner. Micha, shameless as ever, sat at the table of the woman she planned to replace, crossing her legs like she already owned the house. Jung-woo, relaxed, raised his wine glass. "To our future, my love," he said, smiling, looking Micha straight in the eyes, blatantly ignoring his wife sitting at the same table. Seo-yeon looked at them, smiled back, and replied with chilling calm. "To our future, indeed." Dinner continued with fake conversations, forced smiles, and razor-sharp glances. Micha, thinking she had already won, had no idea that every word, every gesture that night was being broadcast live to 3 private investigators, 2 lawyers, and, most importantly, 2 public prosecutors watching everything remotely. That night seemed just like any other. The house was silent. The children were already asleep, innocent, unaware of the hell their parents had become. In the living room, Jung-woo was on the phone. In the bedroom, Micha smiled to herself as she browsed through wedding dress catalogs on her phone. They believed their plan was perfect, that Seo-yeon was already weakened, isolated, lost, ready to be discarded. But what they didn't know was that the fragile woman they had planned to destroy no longer existed. In the days leading up to that moment, Seo-yeon had crafted a revenge plan as meticulous, as intelligent, and as cruel as the one they had plotted against her. She knew that simply taking them to the police wouldn't be enough. No, that was too easy. They needed to feel the bitter taste of their own poison in their own skin. Seo-yeon started laying traps. Hidden recorders, spy chips in her husband's car, and even a GPS tracker on Micha's phone. But the final blow would come that very night. She prepared a dinner. Yes, a dinner. Micha, shameless as ever, sat at the table of the woman she planned to replace, crossing her legs like she already owned the house. Jung-woo, completely relaxed, raised his wine glass. "To our future, my love," he said, smiling, staring at Micha without even acknowledging his wife sitting at the same table. Seo-yeon looked at him, smiled back, and replied with a terrifying calm. "To our future, indeed." Dinner continued with fake conversations, forced smiles, and piercing glances. Micha, thinking she had already won, had no idea that every word, every gesture that night was being broadcast live to 3 private investigators, 2 lawyers, and, most importantly, 2 public prosecutors who were watching everything remotely. After dinner, Jung-woo pretended he needed to talk to Seo-yeon in the garage. Their plan was in motion. She would have an accident, a fall down the stairs, an electric shock, or maybe something even more creative. But when he opened the garage door, he was caught off guard. Bright lights, sirens, detectives, police officers, and prosecutors appeared from all sides. "Mr. Jung-woo, you are under arrest for attempted aggravated murder, criminal conspiracy, evidence tampering, and insurance fraud," the officer announced firmly. Micha, hearing the commotion, ran in desperation, but before she could escape through the back door, she was handcuffed. And you, Miss Micha, will be charged with the same crimes in addition to continuous poisoning and attempted murder. The case exploded in the media. It was hard to believe that the successful CEO, once seen as a model husband and father, and a young nanny who seemed so innocent, were behind such a heinous crime. The recordings shocked the entire country. Audio of them openly discussing how she would slip down the stairs. Footage of her putting poison in the milk. Screenshots of their text messages discussing how they would spend the insurance money. The society that once admired Jung-woo now spat on his name. The courtroom was packed. Cameras, reporters, family members, neighbors, everyone wanted to witness the outcome. Jung-woo tried to defend himself. "I was manipulated. I was lost." But the prosecutor simply hit play. The audio echoed through the courtroom. "If she dies, everything goes to me. The nanny takes care of the kids, and life goes on." Jung-woo, crying, tried to play the victim. "I was manipulated. He promised me love." The judge, expressionless, read the sentence. "For the crimes of attempted murder, fraud, poisoning, and conspiracy, I sentence Jung-woo to 30 years in prison, and Micha to 25 years. Silence filled the courtroom. And then, applause, tears, a mix of relief and pain. After dinner, Jung-woo pretended he needed to talk to Seo-yeon in the garage. Their plan was in motion. She would have an accident, a fall down the stairs, an electric shock, or maybe something even more creative. But when he opened the garage door, he was caught completely off guard. Bright lights, sirens, detectives, police officers, and prosecutors came from all directions. "Mr. Jung-woo, you are under arrest for attempted aggravated murder, criminal conspiracy, evidence tampering, and insurance fraud," the chief officer announced firmly. Mi-cha, hearing the commotion, tried to run desperately, but before she could escape through the back door, she was handcuffed. "And you, Miss Mi-cha, are being charged with the same crimes, plus continuous poisoning and attempted murder." The case exploded in the media. It was hard to believe that the successful CEO, seen as a role model husband and father, and a young nanny who seemed so innocent, were plotting such a cruel crime. The recordings shocked the entire country. Audio clips of them openly discussing how she would slip on the stairs. Video footage of her putting poison in the milk. Screenshots of their messages talking about how they would spend the insurance money. The society that once admired Jung-woo now spat on his name. The courtroom was packed. Cameras, reporters, family members, neighbors, everyone wanted to witness the outcome. Jung-woo tried to defend himself. "I was manipulated. I was lost." But the prosecutor simply pressed play. The audio echoed through the courtroom. "If she dies, everything goes to me. The nanny takes care of the kids, and life goes on." Jung-woo's voice. Mi-cha, crying, tried to play the victim. "I was manipulated. He promised me love." The judge, expressionless, read the sentence. "For the crimes of attempted murder, fraud, poisoning, and conspiracy, I sentence Jung-woo to 30 years in prison, and Mi-cha to 25 years. The silence was absolute. And then, applause, tears, a mix of relief and pain. In the end, Seo-yeon didn't just survive. She won. From a betrayed, humiliated, and threatened woman, she became a national symbol of courage. Her story inspired countless other women to report abuse, violence, and betrayal. She wrote a book, gave interviews, and started speaking about resilience, emotional intelligence, and self-defense. And the children? They grew up by their mother's side, who now was their hero. But wait, it's not over yet. 6 months later, an anonymous letter arrived at Seo-yeon's house. No sender, just one sentence. "Not everything is over yet. Someone is still watching you." And attached, a photo of her and the kids taken in front of the school just 2 days ago. What does this mean? A new danger? A hidden accomplice? Do you want to know what happens next? Comment below if you want a continuation. And of course, subscribe to the channel because you won't want to miss the next episodes.